Hey guys, how's it going? This is Sebastian, and welcome to another video. Now, in today's video, I want to walk you through some of the lessons that I have learned from my experience after, doing appointment setting and helping agencies and coaches scale their appointment setting systems for the past 2 years. And honestly, just talking to over 70,000 business owners during that time, mainly through DMs. I've also done some cold calling and just some phone setting. But the majority of it was through DMs. And yeah, obviously, it's been a long time. It's been a very, very long ride. And I've learned a ton along the way, both from my own experience and then also from, other people that I've worked with, from, getting coaches, mentors, managers, etc. You name it. Again, all this knowledge has took me over 2 years to actually learn, and actually tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, mentorships, etc. So, just so you guys know that I'm not actually lying, I'm actually going to walk you through one sec. Some of the um, some of the tracking sheets that I was using. Now you can see the dates right here. This is July 17th, 2023. Right now, when I'm shooting this video, this is November the 7th. So it's about a year and a half ago, pretty much. A bit less than a year and a half. This was for one of the clients that I was working with. So keep in mind, this is just the past, year and a half or so. And I also used to work with some other companies in the past. So yeah, as you can see right here, I've got cold outreach that I was doing in the beginning, and then I was reaching out only to new followers. But if you look at only the cold outreach, I mean, let's look at the numbers, right? If you go all the way to the bottom, that's 4,000 people, 4,100 people. If you also add the new followers here, let's also add the new followers, and let's look at everything. That is a total of 17,000 people. And then, so 17,000. And then if you also look at the follow-ups, the follow-ups is not just, people that didn't respond to me, but it's also, we had a huge CRM full of leads, full of business owners that we hadn't talked to in a very long time. And I was spending a lot of time in that follow-up list. If you look at just the follow-ups, it's over 50,000, right? So 17K, outreaches, 50,000 right here follow-ups. That's like 67,000. And then add on top of that another like year or so working with some other businesses, again, doing some cold calling, doing some DMing, etc. To be honest, I think I've talked to probably over 100,000 business owners at this point, but it's definitely over 70,000. So here's some of the main lessons that I learned, just so you guys can learn from my failures, and basically just take all that, implement it into your own business, your own agency, or if you're an appointment setter and you're trying to improve your craft, then this is the right video for you. As it's literally all the main lessons that I learned, the main things that led me to success during this time. So here's the first thing that I learned, and it's a really, really important thing because I still see people doing this in 2024. It's actually crazy. The first lesson is do not pitch people right away. You actually want to lead with value. Now, I still see people doing this like it's 2019 or something. Guys, this is not COVID. It's not the wave, right? You can't just be a walking pitch, right? You can't just be sending paragraph pitches. If you want to do that, save those for your email, right? The big long text, when you go into your messages, you see a message request and it's this random dude sending you like this text, and it's, guys, like, most people don't even read through that. You need to understand, people and business owners nowadays get pitched so much that if your message is not short, to the point, and concise, they're not even going to read through it. They're not even going to waste their time trying to read through this. I was actually on a business owner's Instagram setting appointments for a very long time. Guys, there were so many messages in there. There were so many people trying to pitch him. When I would see this text, like a super huge long paragraph, 90% of the time, I wouldn't even read through that. Like, I would see the message, I would be like, fuck that. moving on to the next person, right? I wouldn't even read through it. And it was literally my job to, read through all the messages and respond. So if I didn't do it, imagine someone who's not even getting paid to respond to messages. There's no way they're going to go through all that. Because the main thing is, like, when people see this, they already know it's a pitch. So if you want to do long paragraph pitches, guys, save those for your emails, right? Get an email list of like 10,000 people, write out your email template, long pitch, add some case studies or whatever you want to do, and then send that to your email list. Do not send that in DMs, guys. Seriously, nobody's on Instagram to just read this thing, or Facebook, or any other social platform. So if you're doing social DM outreach, don't do that, guys. Please. It's 2020. It's almost 2025. So please don't do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, a lot of people are confused on whether they should do like a personal approach when it comes to outreach, or general, like non-personalized approach. What I think is the best way to do that is by using a hybrid approach. Now, I actually have a little diagram right here where I can kind of explain what the hybrid approach is. So a lot of people, what they do is they do a super non-personalized approach, right? So what they end up doing is, they create a message that can literally be copy pasted to like hundreds of thousands of people. And they basically just copy it, paste it, or they use some type of automation and send it to a bunch of people, because they don't have to do there's no personalization. They don't need to change anything. So an example of a non-personalized outreach message is something like, hey, I saw you're in X niche, right? Let's say you're working with dentists, right? You're like, hey, I saw you're a dentist. How's the market currently? Or, hey, I saw you're a dentist. How long have you been in business? Something like that. Again, just like we said in the first lesson, you don't want to send a huge pitch. You want your message to be short, concise, and just allow you to get your foot through the door and get a conversation started. So this is pretty decent, but it lacks personalization. So the thing with this is that because there's no personalization, it's infinitely scalable. You can literally get a list of like 100,000 people, use an automation, and just send it to 100,000 people. Or you can copy paste it, send it to a bunch of people, etc. So it's super scalable. That's a good thing. The bad thing is that obviously the response rate is going to be very low, because of the fact that it's not, personalized at all. So people are going to see this, going to be like, oh, it's an automation, oh, it's a bot, whatever. Some people are still going to respond, but your response rate is definitely going to be lower compared to if you use the personalized approach, right? Now, with the personalized approach, you're going to add stuff in the conversation or in the message that an automation couldn't necessarily do, right? So for example, let's give an example of this. Let's say you're working with, I don't know, real estate agents or something. You could be like, hey, John, you can use their name. I saw that you're a real estate agent in Florida, for example. And you can be like, how's the market over there? Or how's the market in Florida, right? If you're working with, let's say, coaches, you can be like, hey, Bob, I saw that you're in the coaching space helping, closers increase their sales. How long have you been in this space? Something like that, right? This is a lot more personalized. Now, the good thing with this is because it's so much more personalized, you're going to get a high response rate because people are actually going to see your message and they're going to be like, oh, wait, like this dude actually did some research. He actually, looked through my stuff. It's not just some random bot that's spamming me, trying to sell me something, right? So you're a lot more likely to get a response here. So your response rate is going to be a lot better. But the problem with this is that it's way less scalable, right? I mean, imagine having to reach out to 100 people every single day, and then you have to find stuff about their business. You have to find, where they're operating. You have to find, the name of their business if you want to include that in your pitch, in your message. It's going to take just so much more time and so much longer for you to do your outreach. It's not very scalable, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, these approaches are bad. I just believe there's a certain use case for both of them, right? So for the non-personalized outreach, what I believe, I don't necessarily think it's bad, but the way I would use a non-personalized outreach is if you have some type of email list, let's say you have 100,000 emails and you just want to send something to 100,000 people, uh, it doesn't really matter. Even if your response rate is lower, guys, it's 100,000 people. So even if your response rate is like 1%, that's still like 1,000 people, 1,000 responses, which is a lot, right? Now, if you only have, let's say 10 leads, then no, I would make the most out of those 10 leads and I would try to get all of them to respond. So I would use a personalized approach. So there is a use case for both of them. If you don't have a lot of leads, if you're running ads, for example, your like leads are really expensive and you want to make the most out of them, you really want to milk them and make the most amount of money that you can out of those leads, then use a personalized approach. Yeah, you, like literally take every single lead and act as if it's your only lead. In that case, yeah, I would use a personalized approach. But if you have a ton of leads, you have a huge email list, then non-personalized approach can be really good, especially if you have an automation. You literally just type in an email. Maybe you use a couple templates, right? So they can autofill the name of the lead or something. And you can do that and send with the click of a button, you can send a message to 1,000 or 100,000 people. Then by all means, do a non-personalized approach. Now, what I like to do and what I think is probably the best case for 99% of people, especially if you're doing DM outreach specifically, is going to be a hybrid outreach approach. So with the hybrid approach, you're actually going to take the best out of both worlds. You're going to take the scalability of non-personalized outreach, and you're also going to take, the kind of like personalization of the personalized outreach, and you're going to put them together. So what that's going to look like is you're going to add some stuff that is specific to them, but you're not going to overdo it. And I'll explain kind of what I mean. So this is an example. Let's say, again, you're working with real estate agents. You can be like, hey, John, I saw that you're a real estate agent. How's the market currently? Or how long have you been in the space? Now, the thing with this is that because you're saying their name and because you're saying, I saw that you're a real estate agent, you're actually kind of personalizing the message, right? Because obviously, if you know that they're a real estate agent, you kind of look through their profile, you kind of did your own research. It's not super personal, but it is kind of personal. So it will get you higher response rate. The thing is, it's not actually personalized at all, because if you're only reaching out to real estate agents, then you literally just copy and paste the message. You don't actually have to change anything. So it is personal, but at the same time, you don't have to do any effort to make it personal. And for the name, you can either leave that as a template, right? If you have some automation that can autofill the name, that's perfect. If not, you can literally just copy, paste the message. And then when you paste the message, before sending it, you just double click on the word name and you write out their name. So you're like, hey, John, and then you click send. It literally takes you 1 second, right? It's way more scalable than doing this. And it also gets you much better response rate than doing this. So it's the best of both worlds. You get high response rate and then you get scalability at the same time. And if you don't want to use their name, if you want something more scalable, for example, what I used to do at one of the businesses that I was working with, 90% of our clients were males, or 95% of them were males. And all the people that I was reaching out to were basically males. So I would say something like, hey, dude, or hey, bro, something like that. It makes it kind of personalized because you're not just saying, hey, that's it. You're actually adding something, which, I wouldn't say, hey, bro, if it was a female, right? So they know it's not some type of automation necessarily. They know it's an actual person saying this. So it kind of personalizes your message a little bit more, makes it more specific. And then when I was reaching out to like a female business owner, then I would literally just erase the word bro or dude, and I would just send it. It would literally take like a split second. And that way you can have something that's both scalable and also gets you high response rate. This is it for the hybrid approach. Now, the third thing that I learned, the third kind of like lesson that I learned through these 2 years of doing appointment setting is you shouldn't actually be trying to sell people in the DMs. Now, this is actually something that I see a lot of people do, especially when they're new to appointment setting or new to like starting your own agency, starting a coaching business, and they're just starting to book their first appointments. It's a mistake that I see a lot of people make, is that you're actually focusing on trying to sell the service instead of trying to sell the appointment. Your job in this first kind of like phase of the sales process isn't to actually get people to buy from you. You want people to get on a sales call with you, and then on that sales call, that is where you're actually going to try to sell them. So you don't want people, when you're trying to book a sales call, you don't want to say, like, for example, hey, if you want us to help you, let's say, scale your business to 10K per month, book in a call. That shouldn't be the frame, because when you're framing it, it's 100% people know they're going to be sold something. So if they don't actually want to be sold, they just won't get on the call, right? Or if they don't trust you enough, if they don't know you enough, they'll be like, why would I get on a call with this random dude who just wants to sell me something, right? It feels like you're just trying to take, and you're not actually genuinely trying to help. Your focus should be on trying to help them, figure out what their problem is, try to help them solve it, and then build curiosity around your solution. And that's what's going to get them to book in a call with you. And that's also what's going to ensure that they will actually show up. So you don't just say, like, hey, if you want us to help you scale to 10K per month, book in a call. No, you don't do that. That is trying to sell someone. You don't try to sell them the program or the offer. You try to sell them the appointment. So you say, like, hey, we actually helped. I know you're trying to get to 10K per month. I know your biggest challenge is that, you're struggling to book calls. We actually have a ton of clients doing 10 to 30K per month right now. If you have a spare, 30 minutes later this week, I can kind of run you through some of the frameworks and some of the systems that they're using to book appointments, just so you can have some insights on, what we're doing that works. And then, you can go ahead and do it for yourself. Or we can kind of like figure out how we could potentially help you with this as well. So this is how you frame the call, to actually get people to want to get on the call and actually make them show up. You never want to frame the call as like, hey, hop on this 30-minute call, I want to sell you something. No, you want to frame it as like, hey, hop on this call, we'll help you out. And then, if you want to buy our stuff, that's extra, that's cool. If you don't, then you can just take the insights and apply it for yourself, and that's also cool. And that's also the freaking truth. Like, you're not just trying to just sell people, you're trying to help them, right? And then by helping them, by extension, you're going to make money. That's business 101, basically. So that's it for trying to sell in DMs. Don't try to sell the product or the offer. Try to sell the appointment. Try to sell the consultation. That should always be your frame when you're talking to someone in the DMs. The fourth thing, this is really, really basic, but I still thought I would add it here, is always finish with a question, right? When you're talking to people in the DMs, you never want to end with just a sentence. You never want to end with anything else other than a question, right? You always want to finish with a question mark. The reason being, there's actually two reasons. The first reason is if you don't add a question mark, a lot of people, they just won't respond. And the second reason is because if you want to control the conversation and steer the conversation in the direction that you want, you need to be asking questions. That's the only way for you to lead a conversation to where you want it to go. So if you want to lead the conversation, you want to take control of it, you need to be asking questions. That way you can kind of control what answers the prospect gives you and where the conversation is naturally flowing. Again, here's like the perfect example. Let's say you say, hey, I've been doing sales for about 2 years now. A lot of people, they're going to see that. They're going to be like, I don't even care. Who asked you, right? I don't care that you've been doing sales for 2 years now. A lot of people, they'll see this, straight up ghost you, not even respond. Maybe if they're nice, they'll say something, but a lot of the times people won't even respond. Now, if you say, hey, I've been doing sales for 2 years now, what about you? Now you're actually, kind of like passing them the ball, and now they grab the ball, they have to do something, right? So now they feel like they have to respond. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, this will get you 0 responses, and I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that this will get you 100% response rate, because, perfection doesn't exist. But with this, you're much more likely to get a response. Whereas with this, you're very, very likely to get ghosted, and people will just see it and not respond. So you don't want that. Always always finish with a question. You'll get more responses, and you will also be able to control the conversation. Now, lesson number 5 is to actually just keep things simple. The problem with a lot of guys when they first get into appointment setting, or they first get into like starting their own business and trying to book sales calls, is that they try to overcomplicate stuff. Guys, it's very simple. You have an offer, people have problems. You figure out what their problems are, you figure out if you can help them solve those problems, and if you can, then you just offer them to get on a call so you can discuss, their problems, their goals, and how they could potentially get there. That's it. That is business. There's no need to overcomplicate it. No weird, fancy outreach methods and sales manipulative tactics. People either want your stuff or they don't. People either have a problem or they don't. And you can either help them or you don't. Or you can't help them. It's really that simple. So don't overcomplicate stuff. Don't overcomplicate communication. Always try to keep things short and to the point. Don't beat around the bush, guys. Be straight to people. I'm not saying be rude, but there's an in between. You don't want to be too direct and too rude, and you also don't want to be, kind of like vague and beating around the bush. You want to be right around the middle, maybe even slightly towards the direct side, but slightly, right? You want to be like a 6.5 out of 10 towards the direct scale. You want to be a little bit more direct than non-direct, right? And also, stop the formalities. I see people doing this. I see people literally writing messages, like using punctuation, using all types of weird stuff. Guys, you're not talking to the president. So stop treating people like stop putting people on a pedestal, right? If you talk like that to a prospect, they're going to feel like they're in control. They're going to feel like they have the upper hand, and they're never going to buy from someone who they see as below them, right? You need people to see you at least as an equal, if not see you as an authority or an expert in your space. So don't ever talk to people like that. Stop the formalities. Talk to them like you would with a friend. Just don't be rude. That's the only thing I have to say. Just don't be rude. But yeah, don't put them on a pedestal. They're not the president. They're not, I don't know who, your favorite celebrity. They're just a normal human being, just like you are. So yeah, keep it simple, straight to the point. That's it. The 6th thing, which, a lot of people tend to forget, is that volume negates luck. Now, I also have kind of like a diagram explaining this, because a lot of people struggle with this, right? A lot of people, what they do is they send, 5 messages, they get 4 responses, and they get super excited, like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then there's other people who are going to send 5 messages and they'll get 0 responses and be like, oh my God, I got 0% response rate. This is horrible. The thing you need to understand is that you got to do volume. You can't just send 5 messages and get, let's say, 4 responses and be like, oh, I have 80% response rate. That's not the freaking case. Send out another 100 DMs. You'll see that your response rate is not 80% at all. And if you send 5 DMs and you get 0 responses and you're like, oh my, I got 0% response rate, that's also not the case. Again, send out another 100 DMs and you'll see your response rate is not 0%. Volume negates luck. If you send, 10 DMs a day, you're never going to see results. You have to rely on just luck to get results. That's not how you become successful. You don't just pray to become successful. You do everything to make it inevitable for you not to be successful. That's how you see success with anything in life. So volume negates luck. Stop worrying about luck. If you do the volume, things will fall into place. Here's just a quick little example. So you send your first message. Let's say you got 10, 20% response rate. That's generally pretty good, especially if we're talking about cold outreach. So you'll have, if you have 10, 20% response rate, obviously there's an 80 to 90% of people that don't respond to you. Now, for the people that don't respond to you, what you do? Well, you follow up with them, right? Now, when you follow up with them, they're either going to respond or, again, no response. They'll ghost you, right? Now, if they ghost you again, what do? Well, you follow up with them again. If they don't respond again, a 3rd time, you follow up with them again. You're going to do this up to 3 times. After 3 times, I found usually people just don't even care, guys. Like, I wouldn't follow up with someone that hasn't responded to my first message more than 3 times. After 2 or 3 times, usually the response rate drops off a ton. So I wouldn't bother messaging them more than that. But I also wouldn't just message them once and then let them go, right? I've seen a lot of people respond after follow-up number 1 or follow-up number 2. So yeah, if they don't respond, follow up with them after 24 hours. If they ghost you again after 24 hours, follow up with them. And then yeah, just go through that process 2 or 3 times. That's going to maximize your response rate. Now, if they do respond to your message, or if they respond after your follow-up, what happens is, you talk to them. Let's say 40% of the people that you talk to, you send them a booking link. Let's say 70% of the people that you send a booking link to end up booking a call. And let's say out of the people that book a call, 75% of them show up. And out of that, let's say 25% close. So if you kind of look at this example, right? Let's say you send, 200 messages. And out of those 200 messages, let's say you have 10% response rate. So that's 20 responses, right? Now, out of 20 responses, 40% of people you send a booking link to. So you've got 20 people, you got 40% booking rate, or you're sending a booking link to. So let me actually do this right here. So you got 20 responses, right? 20 people that respond to you. 40% of them, you send them a booking link to. So you send 8 booking links. Now, 70% of those end up booking a call. So that's, let me do some quick math. Damn. Let's say 75%. Let's say 75% actually book a call. So that's 3 out of 4 people. That's 6 people. That's 6 calls booked, right? I suck at math, so I had to change it. But you get the point. Out of those, again, 3 out of 4 actually show up on the call. So that means 3, and then that's 4 people or 5 people that show up on the call. Damn. Let's say 4. Okay. I suck at math, guys. I wasn't good at school. That's why I started a business. So 4 people actually show up to the call, and then 25% close rate. That means 1 person ends up closing, right? You get 1 close. Now, if you do enough outreach, you can control how many closes you will get. And if you know your numbers, you don't have to, realistically, you could send 1 message, be lucky enough for that 1 person to respond to you. And then let's say you're lucky enough, you send them a booking link, and they end up booking a call, and they end up showing up, and they end up closing. You could seriously, I can't speak. You could seriously send 1 single message and have 1 close. That would be insane luck, but it could happen. But you can't rely on that to get successful. You can't be like, oh, okay, I'm going to send 10 DMs and expect to get successful. No, what you need to understand is that, especially if you have your numbers, if you've been running your business for a little while now, and you have your numbers and you know them, guys, literally, if you want to hit any target that you want to hit, it's all about reverse engineering the numbers. So if you want to get to 10K per month and you have a 5K offer, you know that you need to close 2 people. So you know that your close rate is 25%. So if you want to close 2 people, you know that you need 8 people to show up on a call per month. If you need 8 people to show up, you know your show up rate is 75%. You know that you need like 12 calls booked. And then to get 12 calls booked, you need to send, let's say, 16 booking links. And then to send 16 booking links, you need to talk to, let's say, 30 people, right? So now you know that, like, hey, I got to talk to 30 people, and you know what your response rate is. Let's say it's 10%. So you know I have to send 300 messages. So now you don't actually have to worry about how do I get to 10K per month. All you have to worry about is how do I send 300 messages per month. That's it. And that you just reverse engineer all of your goals. And if you know your numbers, it's literally that simple. You end up having an action plan. Like, I need to send 300 messages, per month. That's 10 messages a day, every single day. Or if you're working, let's say 5 days a week, that's like 12 messages a day. And you reverse engineer the numbers. You know exactly what you need to hit. And you can hit any goal, any target just by doing this. It's literally that simple. You can get to 100K per month simply reverse engineering the numbers and, charging high enough ticket and getting good enough at sales. Literally, that's the blueprint to get to 100K per month. After 100K per month, stuff starts getting a little bit harder. So that is kind of like the diagram for volume negates luck, just so I can make it a little bit more clear for you guys. Now, lesson number seven, speed to lead and follow-ups equal cash. I don't know if you guys have heard of the 20-80 rule. It's basically kind of like a theory that says that 20% of your or 80% of your success depends on 20% of your actions, right? So there's 20% of your actions that create the 80% of the results, right? So for example, if let's say you're playing basketball, right? You're a basketball player. The thing that's going to generate the most results for you is, for example, let's say learning how to shoot the ball, right? There's 100 things that you can do, right? You can focus on your diet. You can focus on, lifting weights at the gym. You can focus on, running, jogging, doing sprints, etc. But at the end of the day, the thing that's going to make you a better basketball player is going to be working on, your dribbling, working on your shooting. That's what's going to make you better at basketball. Is dieting going to make you better? Yes, but it's not really going to skyrocket your results. Is lifting weights in the gym going to help you? It is, but again, it's not going to skyrocket your results because you're not a power lifter, right? You're a basketball player. So the 20% of actions, there's a couple actions that will get you 80% of the results. And then the dieting, the gym, that's the rest, 20% of the results. That is the little details. But what you want to do is you want to focus as much as possible on the tasks that generate your results. And speed to lead and follow-ups are definitely the two activities that will skyrocket your results. When I started focusing on speed to lead, that took me from literally booking 60, 80 calls per month by myself to booking over 100, 120 calls per month. Now, an extra 40 calls every single month. If you're closing, let's say 25%, that means you're closing 1 out of 4 calls that you're taking. An extra 40 calls is 10 closes, guys. 10 closes per month just by focusing on speed to lead. I didn't work longer hours. I didn't change the scripts. I didn't change anything. I just changed my workflow, right? Whenever I was doing my outreach and I would get a response, I would immediately stop whatever I'm doing and respond to that person and have a conversation with them. That's what you call speed to lead. There's actually so many studies on speed to lead out there, guys. You guys can kind of go through them if you don't already know about this. But there's a study saying that I think if you respond to a lead within 5 minutes, your chances of actually closing them go up by like 21x. So you're 21 times more likely to close someone if you respond within 5 minutes as opposed to responding after like 30 minutes or something. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. You definitely want to respond to people as soon as humanly possible. Literally, I was hearing that my entire life as like a salesperson, that you got to have speed to lead, but I wasn't really focusing on it. The moment that I started focusing on it, my sales skyrocketed. They literally almost doubled. So I was like, okay, there's actually something to this. This is actually real. And ever since then, I've completely changed my workflow to prioritize for speed to lead. And I promise you guys, this thing will skyrocket your results. It's your 20-80 rule. Absolutely. And follow-ups, same thing. If you look at the businesses that I worked with, I was always the top performer. I was always getting the most sales and booking the most calls. And the only thing that was distinctly different when you would look at our end of day reports and our tracking sheets is that I was doing ridiculously more follow-ups. I was doing double the amount of follow-ups that everybody else was doing, and I was pretty much booking double the amount of calls that they were booking. And there's a good reason for that. So yeah, over 40% of my calls came from follow-ups. Literally most of the calls that I would book I would have to follow up with them at least once or twice before they actually book. And then speed to lead boosted my calls by like another like 30%, 40% or so. So these things are definitely a game changer for me. those are the two things that really changed my life and changed my results when it came to booking appointments. And then the last, but not least, number 8 is don't try to handle objections in DMs. Again, this kind of goes back to what I touched on earlier, which is you don't actually want to sell people through DMs, but instead you want to sell them the appointment. You want to sell the consultation, right? So trying to handle objections in the DMs is basically trying to sell them, because you wouldn't have to handle any objections if you weren't trying to sell the program. The only reason why people have objections is because they feel like they're getting sold. So you just have to reassure them like, hey, I'm not actually trying to sell you something. I'm just trying to help and give you some insights. If you do that, people cannot object to it. They literally cannot. So you have to really understand that in this phase, your job is not to sell people. It's actually to just figure out if you can help them and then offer them a solution, and that's it. So don't try to sell them in the DMs. Don't try to handle objections, right? Try to reassure them that you're not trying to sell them anything. And instead, leave the objection handling for the actual sales call itself, whether that's somebody else taking the sales call, right? If you have a closer, or if you're taking the sales call yourself, still just leave the objection handling for the call. It's a lot easier to handle an objection face-to-face through Zoom on an actual call than it's going to be to handle an objection through DMs, right? It's kind of like arguing with your girlfriend over text, whereas, you guys have an argument, you talk about it in real life. You can't solve anything through DMs at all, right? So don't try to handle any objections through DMs. Leave that for the sales call. But you can get a pretty good understanding of an objection that might come up on the call. So if they say something before booking, you might get a good understanding of like, hey, okay, this is probably going to be an objection on the call. So you can write that down, keep it as a note. And so before the call even comes up, you can kind of look through it and figure out a way to handle that objection before the call even happens. So that's pretty much it. Those are basically all the lessons that I've learned after, talking to over 100,000 people, to be honest, business owners online. And these are really the main things that are going to skyrocket your appointment setting and your sales. So if you guys are running any type of agency, coaching business, or if you guys are just appointment setters, go ahead and implement all of these into your business. And I promise you, you're going to see amazing, amazing results. If there's one thing that you guys should keep in mind, it's this right here. Speed to lead and follow-ups, absolutely the most important thing. If you're not doing outreach yourself, but you're running an agency and have appointment setters, then get them to focus on speed to lead and follow-ups. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is everything that I've learned after two and a half years of just working my ass off with a bunch of clients. So yeah, hope this was useful. Hope you guys at least learned one new thing today. And if you did, then don't forget to leave a like and go ahead, check out my channel. I have a bunch of other stuff on there that I'm posting. So if you're looking for any information, any insights on how to scale your agency, how to scale your coaching business, and how to overall just get more clients, again, check out my YouTube, subscribe so you don't miss another video. And if you want some more valuable content like this, as well as maybe some lifestyle stuff from me, then go ahead and follow me on Instagram. I'll actually have my link right below in the description, so you guys can click on that. Go ahead, follow me, shoot me a message. I try to respond to everyone. So yeah, shoot me a message and you can ask me anything in there if you have any questions for me or need help with anything. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Take care. Bye-bye.